This is Lázaro Cárdenas from the law offices of Patel and Soltis. Very good. So what happens? Loan modification failed, short sale is not available, deed in lieu is not available. What are some of the other options after that?
So if short sale is not available, a deed in lieu is not available, or loan modification, none of those are available, you may still have another option. And this is what I consider the last bullet in the gun. Depending on which attorney you speak to and what they specialize in, some attorneys want to use this bullet in the gun first, which is bankruptcy. Bankruptcy is a hammer, right? It's federal. So what happens is you go to bankruptcy, you file a petition in Chapter 7, Chapter 13, whatever it may be, whatever fits your needs, and all of a sudden everything is stopped, right? The litigation is stopped, the sheriff sales are stopped, the bank is stopped from collecting on you until the bankruptcy moves forward. Now that is always an option. Now I like to pull that bullet at the very end, once all the state remedies have failed, which is...
Now in the bankruptcy, the client has two options, right? One, they can keep the house, one, they can't.
Well, in a Chapter 7, depending on how you structure it, right, that's the application where you're basically saying to the trustee, this is what I have, these are my debts, take it, In Chapter 13, you're actually attempting to make your mortgage payments again. You have to make your mortgage payments plus what you've owed in missed payments over the course of, 3 or 5 years.
So filing a Chapter 13 bankruptcy really gives the client a second shot at modifying the mortgage.
Correct. It does, because bankruptcy court has their own mediation program. And so you can go through that mediation program and attempt a loan modification again if it's failed the first time. I obviously like to try the first time, right? Because you want to make sure you try everything in this chronological order, making sure you use every right you have. And let's say it fails in bankruptcy. But let's say that because you're dealing with different departments usually in these banks. You have a loan modification department, right? Then you have a bankruptcy department. Completely different departments. They may not even talk to each other. So you may have good luck with one and bad luck with another. So I like to work with both departments. First you start with the state department, which is not the State Department, but the department that's working with you outside of bankruptcy court. Right. And then you move to the one in bankruptcy court if you need to, but we have a great success rate with clients outside of bankruptcy, not pulling the trigger on the hammer,
What is the benefit of going through this process with an attorney versus trying to do this on their own?
Well, it's overwhelming to do it on your own. When I first learned this practice area, it was overwhelming for me, and I wasn't even the one facing foreclosure, right? Because it took me a while to learn the nooks and crannies. And what I found is that there's a lot of places in sort of foreclosure in New Jersey state courts where there's a lot of options that are available to, a lot of rights that people don't know they have. And they need to be aware of these rights because these rights don't last. They end at certain points, like the right to cure, right, which is an important right. And that ends when the final judgment is signed. And then there's also a lack of understanding of timeline, right? A lot of banks will stop moving forward in the litigation if there's a pending loss mitigation package, right? So you need to be aware of that. And also there's certain federal regulations that address full reviews of loan modification packages or even short sale packages as long as there's a certain time before the sale date is scheduled. Some things that the general client would not know. Now, it's all important because really this is your home, or your commercial property, and you really only get, one shot to do it right over the course of the action. You may get lucky and get a second, but let's say you waste that one shot, then what?
All right, thank you for your time today, Mr. Patel. Hope